Hello and welcome to Jaga. Today we're going to show you how to install the Knockonwood low water content radiator. This is a low water content element with a wooden casing profiled at the top and coated with the coating of your choice as per the catalogue selection. So firstly we're going to mark up the positions of the radiator itself, normally centrally aligned under a window. In this case we don't have a window, but we are going to mark up the external perimeter of the radiator, and then the position of the brackets as per the dimensions on the fitting instructions. As you can see, in this case we're just putting some masking tape on the walls to avoid damage to the wall structure. If this was on an unfinished wall, the masking tape wouldn't be necessary. Once you've got the base points established, you can mark the centre lines for your brackets, ensuring that the bracket will be vertical once installed. So hold the bracket against the wall and mark the top hole. This can then be drilled and fixed to the wall. In this instance we've used rule plug fixings because it's a solid wall structure. We're now going to hang the bracket over using the keyholes in the back of the bracket. Once you've got the bracket hung on the top fixer, check for vertical alignment and mark the second fixing. The bracket can now be moved out of the way and the second hole drilled. Once the first bracket is fixed, use the same process to fix the second bracket, and if necessary, a third bracket. Once all the brackets are fitted to the wall, check that they are horizontally aligned with each other. Once the brackets are checked, you can now start fitting the element. So firstly, with a sharp knife, remove the polythene from the end of the elements. There's no need to remove it all at this stage. It allows for a little bit of protection of the heat exchanger during fitting. Once the polythene is removed, the element simply hooks onto the brackets. In this instance we're showing it with the connections on the right hand side, but you could equally position it the other way round with the connections on the left hand side. Now that the element is positioned on the brackets, you can fit the air vent and the drain plug. We're just taking the element off here now just to make it easier to see what we're doing. So the drain plug screws into the 1/2 inch connection on the bottom, and the air vent will screw into the 1/8 connection on the top. Once you've got the heat exchanger on the brackets and the air vent and drain plug fitted, you can fit the valve. In this instance we're going to fit the Pro valve, which is the combined TRV and lock shield in one body, similar to a manifold type arrangement. And this fits in the same way as any other valve would. You remove the tails first, tighten them into the heat exchanger with a couple of wraps of PTFE tape first, and then fit the valve and tighten the unions up accordingly. Once the valve is fully fitted, you can then do your pipework. This could be pipework coming up from below, or if coming through the wall, you may choose to fit the Pro valve elbows. One thing to note when fitting the valves, or particularly connecting your pipework up, is the orientation of the nut and olive assembly. This is quite unique on the Jaga valve, in as much that it is important that the rubber olive, the rubber seal, goes into the valve body with the split olive against the nut. The pipework must be fully inserted into the valve and tightened up considerably tighter than the normal hand tight plus 1/4 of a turn. As a good rule of thumb, when you're tightening it, the nut should fully cover all of the thread. The correct tightening torque is noted on the fitting instructions for the adapters supplied. It should also be noted the flow and return must be the right way round. So as you can see, on this instance, the flow is on the right hand side and the return is on the left hand side, indicated by the red and blue arrows. Obviously your pipework won't have the arrows on, but you should check which orientation they are, especially if this is a refit to an older system. Once you've connected your pipework up, you can remove the last of the polythene, because the assumption is now you're ready to fit the case in. So just run your Stanley blade across the polythene, across the element, and remove it. Once you've connected up all your pipework and tested for leaks, you can fit the case in. The casing simply lifts on and drops down onto the bracket, located at the back at high level and at the front of the bracket at low level. You may need to slide the casing over slightly to clear the pin that will be sticking out from the valve. This is the bit covered by the black decorator's cap. Once that is located, you can then move on to fitting the TRV head. So to fit the TRV head, simply remove the black cap off the valve body, turn the valve head up to its maximum setting, position it onto the threads and tighten up by hand. You may need to apply a slight force to the end of the head to keep it on there tight. Once the head is fitted, fit the plastic collars around the TRV head and the blanking collar on the opposite end. And that is the completed install of the Jaga Knockonwood.